afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Deborah Dixon, and I'm the host of Our Voices. I have with me today as my guest Mr. Ethan Berry, who is the proprietor and the owner and the operator of a tutoring service. Much more than a tutoring service, but I'm going to allow Mr. Ethan Berry to explain. Welcome, Mr. Berry.
Well, thank you, Ms. Dixon. I appreciate the honor of being here talking with you. You know, I grew up in Vallejo.
I was going to ask you, do you have some ties here to our little town?
Yes, I grew up in Vallejo, born in Fairfield, raised in
right
Vallejo.
Here in Vallejo? Okay, because only people that have been here for a long time know what that means, Vallejo, okay?
Yeah, and I grew up in the hillside, though.
Okay, all right, okay.
H-I-double-L.
Just hillside. Yeah.
So, you know, this is really a treat and an honor for me to be interviewed by you. I love my hometown, and I don't get a chance to come back as often as I would like, but
because please tell me the name of your organization.
Okay, so we have a technology consulting firm that works for Fortune 500 companies and, you know, doing consulting services to cutting edge, bleeding edge technology. And we also have a nonprofit organization, which is named after myself, mainly because the board of directors that we have knew that if it was named after me, that I would make sure that all the work was done.
All the work was done. You know, what's the old saying? Give it to a busy person and it'll get done.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So Ethan Berry Foundation, or
Ethan Berry Inc. nonprofit is the name of it, and we call it EBI for short because it is a long name, and it's a 501c3 economic development and education nonprofit organization, and we provide training for adults for job placement, and we also do K through college mentoring, tutoring, and life skills training.
I just saw recently where you had posted that you had taken a group of young people. Was it down to Silicon Valley, or are you guys just...
Yes, we recently took a group of kids and college students to a company called VMware.
Okay.
And that was some of them first time actually seeing a real technology company. And as they began to get into the tour, they fell in love with working there, and this
is in Silicon Valley, though.
Absolutely,
right? Because they don't get exposed. Our kids don't really get exposed to those sorts of companies and organizations.
Which is why what we do is try to expose them as much as possible, and it's not just, you know, the electronics technology aspect. It's also the biotech industry as well, which is thriving here in the Bay Area.
Could you expand on that a little bit? Because Ms. Dixon is like, you know, what is that all entail?
So biotechnology companies are companies that manufacture and produce pharmaceutical medication.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so if you buy any drug over the counter or off the shelf at any pharmacy or grocery store, a pharmaceutical company has manufactured that, and the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, controls how they go about doing that. Okay. So that it's safe for human consumption.
And so a job in that industry will entail a lot of technical knowledge or a lot of math? Or tell me.
That's the misnomer about a lot of the well-paying jobs here in the Bay Area in Silicon Valley. You don't have to have a math degree or be, you know, that
scientist
deep into technology or science, but you do have to have a passion for it, and you do have to have some level of understanding of reading, writing, and mathematics. I would venture to say if you have a 12th grade level understanding of math, reading, and writing, that's sufficient. They have programs at junior colleges right now where you can do a 2-year program where in biotech or electronics engineering or software engineering, you get an internship, a paid internship, your second year. Wow. So you get on-the-job training.
A lot of people don't know about that. I've never heard that.
And this is something that should be proliferated through school districts so that the students can understand why they have hope, why they have opportunity, where the opportunity is, and how to get to it.
I believe here in the Vallejo Unified School District that they have those academies. They have a biotech academy, I believe, and another one that those academies specifically reach out to that particular field.
Great.
So now, before I get too far into this and the things that you do, I like to know my guests. I like to know, okay, you grew up here, you got brothers and sisters, you have family here?
Right, absolutely.
You still have family that lives here?
Yes, I have a large family.
Some berries?
Yes, indeed. That's part of the reason why I moved out of the to be honest, because I'm one of 9 kids. I'm number 7.
Oh boy!
And
we always had big families then.
Yeah, my father had 9 kids, and my mother is still living. She's 87 now.
Oh, what a blessing!
She'll be 88 this year.
What a blessing!
And she's still going strong.
That's right.
And I have a brother and a sister who still lives in Vallejo, and another brother and sister who lives in Fairfield, and a sister who lives in Antioch, and another sister who lives in another state. I think it's Idaho.
Okay, I was going to say, you better get that right.
Yeah, no, I had to get that right. I had to think for a second.
Idaho, okay, all right.
It's in Idaho. And my oldest brother passed away about 10 years ago, but
that was Estes?
Yes.
Now Estes and I were classmates.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was my.
He's a lovely person.
Yeah, that was the person that I looked up to the most in our family, and he was really he was a nice character.
Guy. He was definitely a character, but he was really a nice person.
Yeah, he never met anyone he didn't like, and you either loved him or you hated him.
There was no in between with us.
There was no in between.
That's
definitely
for sure. That's definitely true. Do you have children?
Yes, I do. I have a son. His name is Drew Allen Berry, and he is in college right now. He'll be 20 this year. Okay. And in October. Okay. And I'm so proud of him.
You should be.
You know, as a parent, you start to take on new life meanings in terms of the things you do and how you do them, because you start to see that your children are looking at you.
Oh, you better know they got the eye on you.
Paying very close attention to you.
Yes.
You're their first role model.
You are.
And so, you know, I had to fly from Atlanta a couple of times. I was on a consulting trip. And the first time I flew back, I had to, it was a false alarm.
Oh, okay.
But the second time I flew back, it was the real thing.
You had to really let him know.
I was able to see him born, and I was there, and you know, I love my son.
That is just such a wonderful blessing. As you know, I have 3 sons, and the oldest one, I think that, are you the same age as Bruce?
Yes, Bruce and I are the same age.
And it just always was so much fun. Joel, my middle son, just sent me a picture the other day of his son getting ready for his first baseball picture.
That's exciting.
And he said, who remembers their first baseball picture? And I just told him what a privilege it was to be his mother. Yes. My sons, I just adored anything that they did. I was always right there to support them. Yes. And all of their friends knew that there was always food at the house.
Yes, and you know, this is a funny thing. When we were growing up in Beverly Hills, HILL side,
there you go, that's right.
We used to always be at Mother Dixon's house on Sundays because she always had a family gathering.
That's right.
And she made the best tea cakes.
There, you called it right. Tea cakes. See, tea cakes and cookies. There's a difference between tea cakes and cookies.
But we would literally hang out over at one of our friends' house who lived across the street from Mother Dixon.
Absolutely.
The Carneys.
Absolutely.
And wait for Bruce to show up and Joel, and then like, hey man, get us some of those tea cakes.
and the good thing about that was that everybody's house was always open. You could go, you know, you guys were friends, and you know, my kids always brought kids home. I wouldn't know how to act, and I'm still in that habit of cooking large meals. Right. I have one grandson that lives with me now, and he said to me the other day, Grandma, why do you cook so much? I don't know how to. I just really don't know how to cook a small amount. Every time I cook, it's just this huge amount. Right. But in any event, let's talk some more about your business. Your consulting business is one thing that you do. You do that as a profession?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, when I graduated from electronics engineering school, I was fortunate enough to get a job.
Okay.
And it allowed me to work my way through my second degree in computer science. Mm-hmm. And I worked in group homes, lockdown facilities for youth, and juvenile halls, mm-hmm. and foster care placement agencies. And that gave me a sense of understanding of what other children were going through and how blessed I was, even though my father died when I was 2. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The people I looked up to were my older brothers, my brother-in-laws, and my cousins, mm-hmm. who all were into electronics and engineering. Mm-hmm. And growing up, I always did well in school, and I did well playing sports. And we would play sports till the lights went out.
Till the lights went out. It would be dark outside.
It would be dark outside.
It didn't even matter.
Yeah, I don't know if they even do that anymore.
I don't hear that in the neighborhood.
Those were the days, but we had a sense of community that was like always there for us.
Yeah.
And everybody's mother and father was looking out for us.
Everybody.
You
do something wrong.
You couldn't get away with it, and everybody knew it.
Right.
So it wasn't a secret.
Right.
And so with regards to me going to college and getting my second degree in computer science, mm-hmm. and working my way through college at the lockdown facilities for boys and girls, the group homes, the juvenile halls, and
you saw so much.
I saw so much. I said to myself, if I ever got the opportunity, I wanted to give back to that group of kids, mm-hmm. because they really needed the most help.
Yeah.
And as I began to travel in my business to Europe, Canada, South America, I began to see what poor really was.
Yes.
And we're not poor. We just think we are.
Mm-hmm, it's po and then it's po.
Yeah.
Right. It's here and then it's poor.
So I try to let kids know that, hey, you have the best opportunity to get the best education in the world. Take advantage of it.
Right.
And then I try to show them through our nonprofit organization, mm-hmm. taking them out on tours to companies, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. and also helping them in their classes at the schools that they attend, mm-hmm. being a face that they can call on for help, both as tutors and mentors, mm-hmm. but also to help the parents navigate the school system.
There's a lot of things that parents just don't, and they expect parents to do everything and to be everything. And, you work hard. It's even harder nowadays than it was when Bruce, Joel, and Jason were growing up, for parents to make it. But occasionally I work, but a lot of times I got to stay home and be with my boys.
Exactly.
Okay? That's really not an option for parents these days.
It's not.
It's just really not an option. With mortgages and rents taking up more than 1/3 of your salary, yes. which is supposed to be 1/3. You just can't afford to do that. Right. And then there is a lot more single parents. Mm-hmm. I think now, I don't know statistically, but I think that there's just a lot more single parents, and that is really a difficult proposition. I don't know. I know I couldn't have made it without.
Well, I can give you the statistic. Mm-hmm. It's between 80 and 85% in the Bay Area, pick a city.
Yeah. Single
parent homes.
Wow, that's a huge number. That's a big number.
That's a huge number.
Yeah.
And to expect that parent to be able to both make the money to survive at
yes.
home or mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. do whatever that's necessary to put a roof over the children's heads
right.
and food in their belly
right.
and get them back and forth to school,
right.
and participate in the school activities, is not
That's just
logical.
It's not realistic.
It's not realistic.
It's that, you know, I worked in San Francisco. I live here in Vallejo. Okay, so that's an hour and a half commute going to San Francisco. Okay, 9 times out of 10, when you come back, something that they had at school is at 5 o'clock. How am I supposed to make that? I can't.
Exactly.
I can't make that.
Time is not on your side.
No.
And so what we try to do is work with the school districts and the parents to be like that communication in between, to kind of make sure that the parents understand what's going on, and the administrative staff at the school and the teachers also know what's going on, so that they can have a better communication, even though the parents may not be able to come to the parent-teacher meetings. That has helped a lot of parents and students and teachers get
connected and be able
that
to
lack of understanding that exists because there's no communication.
Right.
And so there's an old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Right.
And what typically has been happening in our public school systems is that because children are at school, they actually think that they're, learning.
Yes.
But a lot of these kids are at school just to get a meal, just to get some peace of mind, just to get away from home.
Right.
Because there are things that are going on that are undescribable.
There's so many things for our kids
and
nowadays.
So for that 80 to 85% demographic, you have a lot of that going on, but that does not make these kids any less bright.
No.
These kids are resilient, and they can thrive with the best of them with the proper support mechanism.
Given the support. So how do you reach out to the school districts? Is it just, I know that you're in the Oakland area, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So how do you reach out to these school districts? Do you pick up the phone? Is it networking? Is it somebody that you know and you say, I have this program that I'd like to offer?
It's all of the above.
Okay.
We actually had a program here in Vallejo back in 2008, 2009 at Vallejo High, and it went rather well. Unfortunately, they didn't fund it over again, so we couldn't establish.
Stay. Sure.
But as things go, the situation that exists now is that every school, not just Vallejo, not just Oakland, but Richmond, Pinole, Emeryville, Fairfield, you name it, they're all dealing with the same issues.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Because this is a multicultural area.
Right.
And typically that 80 to 85% single family homes, they're going to get some of those kids.
Sure.
And they need to know how to, bridge that communication gap, number one, so that they don't end up, tossing these kids out via suspensions from the school district.
Right.
And number two, they need to be able to reach the kids where they are and lift them up.
Yes.
We shouldn't dummy down the education system and hurt the kids that are already up. We should lift everybody up.
Right.
And so that's what we try to do. We reach out to the school districts by letter, phone, personal visits, principals, teachers, parents, all of the above. And we've been able to make some inroads into, the school districts all of the ones that I mentioned so far. And we're beginning to get some traction. The program that we have is focused on life skills training, reading, writing, and math, comprehension and understanding.
Is this for the children and the parents, or is it mainly the children?
It's for the children and the parents, because we find that the parents sometimes don't have those skill sets either. So they can't help their child, and they're frustrated. So we make it an open door policy, and it works. I think it works for many different reasons, one of which is that they don't feel like they're being judged.
Yes.
And I think that's a big part of...
it makes, as a parent, you already you're carrying a boatload of guilt. Okay, because you're on, in order to make it, and especially as a single parent, everybody's pointing the finger at you. Your kid is this, your kid is that, and you're just doing the best that you can to tread water, to try to, make a decent life for your kid. Everybody wants the same thing, and I think that if we stop focusing so much on our differences and look at the larger picture, the larger picture is that you want clean, safe schools. I want clean and safe schools. How it's done, people get bogged down into that, in my opinion. They start to, pick things apart instead of looking at the larger picture and saying, if we all want the same things, how do we accomplish that particular goal?
Yes. I think it was Malcolm X in a book that I read when I was younger, and I'm an avid reader. And he probably got this from someone else, but in his book, it was quoted as, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
I love saying that to people.
I do too.
I'm telling you, Ethan, I love saying that to people because I hear people, they complain about the school district, they complain about this. Number one, they don't have a dog in the fight, but they want to fight the dog.
Exactly.
Okay? When it comes time for volunteering, so if you don't have a kid in school, when it comes time to pass school bonds, you're voting against it. You don't really care.
Right.
Okay? You got these private charter schools coming up now. Now, I, don't want to get in too deep into that discussion about that, but public education versus private education, who's going to get the short end of the deal?
The public is. And I can tell you from experience that charter schools, for the sake of argument, are no better than public schools. They use a lot of marketing, and they persuade the parents to believe that they're a better choice. But once the parents get there, the actual result of student output tells the tale. Now, some charter schools do very well. They have their thing together and it works because they work with the community. But the majority of charter schools do not. They suffer from the same problems as public schools when they don't take the time to do the work of actively supporting these kids where they are. And see, that's the important part. It is.
And I don't want people to forget that, because it's like not where you think they should be, not where you want them to be, but where they are.
Where they are. And it's often the case that they're afraid to go into the communities. They're afraid to talk to the parents. They're afraid for the parents to come to talk to them. And so on and so forth.
Sometimes for a good reason, but
yes.
Because working at Vallejo as a school site parent, I saw all sorts of things, and I would be ashamed sometimes for the parents to come there, because with Bruce Doyle and Jason, any teacher could pick up the phone, any school administrator could pick up the phone and say, Miss Dixon, thus and so happened. Well, I'm going to talk to my kid first. And not that I'm necessarily going, but see, I know my kid.
Exactly.
I already know my kid.
Exactly.
So now I'm not fixing to come and beat you up over the head because, I know he acted up because I know my kid. Okay? So we have to stop trying to make excuses for them in order to help them to be better.
And that's where we come in also. We really spend a lot of time with the parents and the kids because the real issue is communication.
Yes.
To be human, communication is the essence of our humanity.
Yes.
If we walk around and never talk to each other, we would destroy each other just because we're thinking something crazy.
Right.
We're thinking that somebody's trying to get us, and that's not really what's going on.
Right.
So that's why communication is so important. And I can't explain enough how far communication goes. Once that gets established, parents buy in. They don't feel like their voice is not being heard, whether they're speaking Spanish and using English as a second language, or immigrated to this area from another country, or they're, just never had that reading skill down, and they had kids, and so now they can't help their kids. Once you establish that communication, all those barriers come down, and they will open up, and they want to learn too.
Absolutely. I have so enjoyed talking with you. We could go on just and on because there's so many questions that I have, but I think that one of the things that you've done is that you have opened up some areas of communication. You've opened up some lines of thoughts that the people that are watching this show could maybe think about and take home and maybe help them. One of the things, raising my children versus raising my grandchildren, I couldn't help my grandchildren with their homework.
Right.
I just couldn't. It was beyond my capacity.
Right.
I'm an intelligent person, but it was beyond what I knew. So what did I have to do? I had to, get someone like you. I had to get help from my grandkids to help them navigate their way, through the system.
And that's what we need to adopt in our public school systems. We can't be afraid to invite people into the school to help solve this problem, because we can't continue to do the same thing and expect a different result.
I think somebody said that's crazy.
Insanity.
I think that's the word that they use. Well, we're going to wrap this show up. I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your very, very busy schedule.
I'm so humble.
And coming over here and sharing all this information and all this knowledge with us.
Anytime. I was just humbled when I got the message from you.
I'm looking at you, and I see Estes, right? Okay, that was my buddy. I'm sorry. That was your brother.
That was my brother.
I just so appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you as well.
Everything that you do for the community, everything that I do for the community is for the good of all.
Absolutely, because as we talked about it initially, we have to lift everybody up.
Right. A rising tide will lift everybody.
Absolutely.
We won't leave anybody behind.
Absolutely.
I want to thank everybody for joining me today. This has just been an absolutely marvelous conversation to have with Mr. Ethan Berry, to learn some things about our children and about ourselves is just absolutely wonderful. So to everybody that has the opportunity to watch, we're going to put some information up on the screen. You can contact his organization and find out more. I hope I get the opportunity to invite him back and we talk some more about the children, because as a favorite person of mine always says, it's all about the kids.
It's all about the kids.
It's all about the kids. Thank you, Vallejo, for tuning in to us and watching this show.